60 Minutes, Rewind.
A while back, we heard that a group of fat Americans were planning to hold a convention in Washington. The National Association to Aid Fat Americans, they call themselves. It wasn't going to be a diet seminar, they said, nothing like Overeaters Anonymous. Instead, it would be a weekend dedicated to fat pride, fat liberation. Well, that intrigued us, so we asked if we might sit in, and they agreed. 150 fat people, most of them female, from all across the country, come together in a kind of consciousness-raising session. They let us listen in on their hang-ups, their professed joys, and their problems.
Most people in society do not like me because I am fat.
Within the past 2 months, I have been the unwilling participant of a verbal attack in public, once waiting for a bus on a street corner, another time on a bus with vicious language.
About
words,
what?
Pardon, about my size.
I was in the supermarket one day, and a woman was in line behind me. She said to me, you know, she says, you have such a pretty face. Do you enjoy being fat? I said, I work very hard at it. It took me a long time to get this way.
I really think that if we could break some of the myths associated to being fat.
What myths?
What myths?
Yeah.
It's unhealthy.
Being a slob,
What?
being dirty, being dumb, being lazy, stupid. Thin people always have a good sense of humor. Fat people are jolly.
I wondered if, far from being jolly, I wondered if I didn't detect a real melancholy in the room.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I'm unhappy because I'm ostracized from society. That's the only thing as a whole group. But in my personal life, I have friends, there are people who love me, I have a social life, I have a good time.
And here comes Shirley. Shirley is modeling a Robbie Lynch.
These women swear they now have come to terms with being fat. If once they dreamed of achieving the svelte ideal of slim America, they gave up on that long ago. A thin woman can put on a pair of blue jeans and a t-shirt and go out and she looks fine, one of them told us. A fat person can't. A fat person has to be more careful. But look around this room, she said, and you can't deny there are many attractive women here. This model bride was attractive enough to catch the fancy of the man who stands beside her. They were married a year ago.
I'm happy with my husband and I'm happy with my life. I'm me. It doesn't matter whether I weigh 150 pounds or 350 pounds.
And you weigh 350?
Mm-hmm.
375.
375, he'll brag.
But during the weekend we spent with them, many of the young women at the convention spoke candidly about the difficulties, the obstacles they'd encountered in finding male companions.
Men would like to be with fat women in the open, go to restaurants and everything else, but society has put so much pressure on them, telling them, hey, you have to go out to a restaurant with a skinny woman.
That's right.
You can't be seen with a fat woman.
Many men seem to have a fantasy of going to bed with a fat woman. They enjoy it, and once they get there, believe me, they enjoy it. But some of them don't want to be seen in public with us. They're not going to take us out.
A lot of the guys are in the closet about liking fat women. They come here, they're single guys. They don't want their friends to know they're with fat women.
It's very hard when people ridicule the type of women that you like and say they're ugly. And they laugh at you when you walk with them arm in arm down the street. Some people like to look at fat people. I love to look at a fat woman on the beach. If I saw Marilyn Monroe or Gina Lollobrigida on the beach, they turn me off. It's just like looking at a board.
I've never been 120 pounds for more than a month. I go right back. I can put on 40 pounds in a month.
Society feels that we can really change. Black people can change. Other minority groups, other ethnic background, people with ethnic backgrounds, they can't change. Fat people can change.
Medical science has studied and conferred and studied some more and come up with no plausible explanation, no magic cures. Diets are numerous, and if any of them worked, there would be no need for so many new cures, declares Dr. George Bray, professor of medicine at UCLA. And Dr. Philip White, director of nutrition for the AMA, says more dollars are spent on worthless cures for obesity than for all medical research combined, and America grows fatter. The fact is, science simply doesn't yet fully understand the psychology and physiology behind obesity. And behind their mask of pride or joy or liberation, America's fat people, especially America's fat women, suffer special agonies.
I want to be respected, I want to be acknowledged, and I want to be loved for who I am. And I don't want to walk down the street and have people turn around and make fun of my package.
Another problem. Various surveys have shown that fat people pay a penalty in the job market. They don't get jobs as easily, they don't advance as quickly, and they're not paid as well as their thinner counterparts.
I was looking for another job. I went to a representative on the Hill that had an opening as an aide. And I went there, I went for the job, I got back to the office, he called my boss. He said, Mr. Kelly, I really like Betty. She's got a wild sense of humor. She dresses well. I don't put fat girls in my office.
Then I spoke to that woman's daughter. I consider you, Jenny, a very attractive young woman. And, forgive me, I feel sorry for you.
You shouldn't. Would you hire someone like me?
You know, I'm asking myself this as I have my consciousness raised here today.
I can type 60 words a minute. I can take shorthand. I completed the course at the Washington School for Secretaries. I'm just as qualified as any other student there.
I'll bet you.
Weighing 100 pounds. Would you discriminate against me and hire another girl because I'm heavy?
That's a very good question. There's a young woman sitting back there. You've been here in each one of the meetings and you haven't said a word. And I'm very curious to know why and what you're getting out of all of this.
Well, I've always been a rather shy person, and as in my early teens, I wouldn't even walk into a room of people or into a store. And I'm more or less coming out of a closet, admitting I am a fat person, and starting really to enjoy life at 31 years old.
Mm-hmm. What are you learning?
I'm learning to accept myself and go out and, to the beach in a bathing suit if I want to. And if they don't like to look at me, they don't have to.
If they don't like to look at me, that's a sore point with many fat women who feel that even advertisers who are trying to woo them don't much like to look at them.
The fat woman in New York has two main stores to buy at, Lane Bryant and Romans. The clothes are made with no conception of what looks well on a fat woman. Right. The store we must purchase from uses attractive, thin women to model their clothes.
The dieting industry. They try to get us in any way they can. They'll use us, but they won't show us on TV. They'll attack us.
I was in Macy's one day, and you know they have these girls with the big hats that hand out these perfume samples. You stand there long enough, you never see them hand one to a fat person. They only hand, fat people evidently don't use perfume.
You never see anybody heavy using any product on TV.
Except oven cleaner.
Unless it's oven cleaners, she said. By the end of the weekend, it was apparent that fat pride, fat liberation, was giving way to fat sadness. And that sadness, it turned out, began at home.
When you have a fat son or daughter, their weight is not your problem. Your attitude is their problem.
Think what happens when you say to somebody, if you love me, brother, if you love me, wife, if you love me, child or husband, you'll get thin. And the husband, daughter, or wife says, because I love you, I'll try to get thin, and they fail. And then what is this? Is this proof you don't love the person? Is it proof the person doesn't love you?
My mother is dead 10 years. I see a mother and daughter here, and it's unbelievable to me. She's accepting her daughter, and she wants you to do it. All I can remember is my mother taking me to diet doctors, which I internalized as my mother not loving me. Now, I know she did. I would have given anything if I could have gone somewhere like this with my mother. And I think it's beautiful that there are mothers and daughters here because she's accepting her daughter. She loves her daughter, as I'm sure my mother did. I know my mother did.
And it's very difficult when you have a daughter that you really care about to be gentle about it. Now, we have, as I said, a large family. Jenny is the only one that's this heavy, and her brothers and sisters haven't been kind to her. The people that she's gone to school with were not kind to her. And it's difficult when you want the best to be kind.